This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Well, let's get back to it.
Wow. So we start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Over dishes of ravioli... This is the Mail. Over dishes of ravioli and sliced calf's liver. Oh.
Disgusting.
Washed down by bottles of Southern Italian red.
Booze.
Rishi Sunak's political enemies plotted their next moves against the government. The venue was Giovanni's, a long-established family Italian restaurant in London's Covent Garden, run by Sicilian aristocrat Count Pino Ragona, whose walls are decked with pictures of celebrity customers such as Frank Sinatra and Liz Truss. Cancel my reservation at Giovanni's. I've heard it's absolutely infested with Tories. The conspirators, a determined cabal of MPs and political strategists. Well, that makes them sound like makes them sound really bright, doesn't it? Strategists. Oh wow, must be geniuses. A determined cabal of MPs and political strategists were busy turning a torrent of headlines damaging to the Prime Minister, previously described as a grid of bleep, into an advent calendar of bleep. Very bad word beginning with S.
Disgusting.
The intention was to leave Number 10 reeling from a series of blows in the wake of last month's sacking of Cruella Doberman as Home Secretary. That ghoul used to be our Home Secretary. Can you believe that?
Absolutely.
Her brutally personal parting shot letter was followed last week by the resignation of Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick. We're still not missing you, Robert, by the way, in case you were wondering. Getting on just fine. Her brutally personal parting shot letter was followed last week by the resignation of Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick over titchy suit sizes plans to use emergency legislation to rescue his scheme to send channel migrants to Rwanda, which Robert Jenrick felt did not go far enough.
What?
It didn't go far enough. He wanted migrants to be put into a meat grinder and formed into sausages and wrapped in bacon made from the infants of single mothers. Pigs in blankets, party food. Tory party food. This isn't just Christmas cruelty, it's caring Conservative Christmas cruelty. The Prime Minister is also facing opposition from One Nation Tory moderates on the other flank, led by former Deputy Prime Minister Damien Green. Maximum points to tell me who the current Deputy Prime Minister is. Anybody? Anybody at all? Time's up. The former Deputy Prime Minister Damien Green is leading the group called the One Nation Tory moderates. They object to using legislation to override the Human Rights Act and overrule the Supreme Court's verdict that Rwanda is not a safe place to send asylum seekers. The sensible wing of the insane party. But if it's just those crackpots and weirdos, and some are good people, I suppose, then Titchy doesn't really have anything to worry about. But everybody else in the party hates him too. And as for us poor dopes who pay taxes and just have to sit here taking this from this coterie of twisted inadequates, well, why don't you ask us? 3 cheers for the Prime Minister. Hip hip. Boo! One of Giovanni's plotters is open about wanting to crash Titchy suit sizes administration in order to install a new leader before the election, but admits to having no idea how it will happen or who should take over. That's great. Psst, I've got a plan. I don't know what it is yet, but it's a total winner. Do you want to hear it?
No.
They said, our polling is down to 20%, which is wipe out territory.
Warning, warning.
Even a 5% bounce from a new leader would save a decent number of seats. This is what they said. Sunak can't win on the legislation because every wing of the party is bleeped off over one reason or another. Well, welcome to our world. By the way, good that they're thinking of what's right for the country rather than saving their own place on the gravy train. Oh, that's right. They're not. One official said, if we water it down, the policy won't work as a deterrent, this Rwanda fiasco. If we make it any harder, the policy will collapse, they said. The plan on the table is the only way to get flights off. It's the only way to deliver on our commitment to stop the boats.
Under my leadership, the government's priorities
is your priority.
are your
Yeah,
priority.
you keep getting that the wrong way around, mate. Going to stop the boats. This country doesn't care about stopping the blooming boats, apart from a small band of troglodytic mouth breathers who bellyache about 20-mile-an-hour zones and unisex bathrooms and statues and rainbow laces on football boots and whether universities play the national blooming anthem on graduation day. Not yet. Later. You think sending people to Rwanda is going to make them happy? They have selected whining misery as a lifestyle choice. Being happy is not part of their makeup. Can it? Meanwhile, the lady of the delusions, Cruella Doberman, denies scheming to bring down Sunak, claiming that she hopes he will lead the party into the next election. And why would anybody disbelieve that? She is positively known for her probity and her honesty. But there is undoubtedly an ominous coalition on the right, massing against the PM, says the Mail, comprised of the new Conservatives surrounding Cruella Doberman, chaired by Danny Kruger, the ultra-Brexiteers of the European Research Group, headed by Marc Francois. Well, I wouldn't write him off because, he used to be in the army and he wasn't trained to lose. And then there's the Northern Research Group, and every time you hear the word research in the name of one of these groups...
Warning!
Then I would, just back, don't make any sudden moves, just back out of the room slowly. And then there's the No Turning Back group of neo-Thatcherites who were influential in Liz Truss's short-lived administration.
Absolutely.
And I'll sum up the lot of them with these syllables. Last week's plotting moved up a gear in the hours after the Home Secretary, James Cleverly, unveiled his Rwanda bill in the Commons with around 36 rebel MPs, including Doberman, drinking wine, if you please, in the West Dorset MP Chris Loder's office. The mood was jubilant after Robert Jenrick went, one rebel said. All the talk was, what will our next chess move be? They think they're playing chess. It looks like tiddlywinks to me. 0345 6060 973. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Texts and tweets from last night. Darryl says, in the COVID inquiry, Bodger didn't say the government were doing their best. Instead, he said that they were doing their level best. Now, I'm no expert, but surely level best is better than best. I mean, it must be world-beating. Any thoughts, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait.
No, he's still trying to make sure that his hair is mussed, just so. It has to be perfectly imperfect. Otherwise, it doesn't cover up his his ineffectual bumbling act and the vast plains of barren scalp that rest beneath that hovering mop. Greg says, I'm part of the trance music scene and the DJs say that the Argentinian crowd are the best to perform in front of. Yeah, the problem is you've got to go all the way there. Just one small issue. This is probably in relation to the thing that I was pointing you in the direction of last night. Go, if you have a moment, not now. But later, if you've got a moment in your busy schedule and you wish to be amused, look up AC/DC at River Plate. This is not the first time I've told you about this, and yesterday wasn't the first time I told you about it either. But it is absolutely astonishing. You will never in your life see an audience reaction like that. Trust me. Plus, it's AC/DC, so what more do you want?
Rock and roll!
Jim says, can't the Tories just send themselves to Rwanda and their racist supporters? Perhaps that's the plan for when they lose the election badly. Well, I've heard it's a great place. It's so great that it's not really anything of a, oh, damn, what's the word? A reason not to come here. What's the word? What's the word I'm looking for?
Deterrent?
A deterrent is the right answer. Already a huge benefit to this programme. Ahmed says, the government is trying its best to get the Rwanda scheme through, even through illegal means. Can you please pull out a made-up story about Corbyn, Lineker and Meghan to divert the public's attention while this is done? Yeah. I heard that Meghan was smiling the other day. No! That was actually a headline. I think it was in the Mail. I think it was the first story on the Mail Online. Meghan smiles. You know, while the king is discombobulated and he's, he's probably lost a cufflink or something like that. There was Meghan smiling 6,000 miles away. The epitome of evil. Thanks a lot, Meghan Markle. See what you've done? Ruined this country. 0345 6060 973. Dave says, a Guardian article in April 2019, well, this is the latest news. The Guardian article in April 2019, headed, Who Owns the Land in England, says 1% of the people own half of the land. And others, like Quangos and corporations and Virgin and the vacuum cleaner bloke too. We compete for homes to buy or rent in less than 5% of the land of this country. Hence, sky-high prices and deeply ingrained misery. 1066 is the root of all that, says Di. 1066? Well, that sounds like a history lesson to me, and I don't do history.
Boring!
The only thing that anyone ever learnt from history is that nobody has ever learned anything from history.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What in blazes goes on inside that head of yours?
Oh, you know, this and that. Mark texts, we don't hear from the House of Lords these days, which is a shame because there are some good minds there with experience. Yes, that is completely correct in every respect. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but there are better minds and more capable people in the House of Lords snoozing on those red benches than there are in the House of Commons. You believe that? Jenny Jones, for instance, who gives it to the Tories on virtually a daily basis. Prem Sikka, for instance. Excellent work, both of those two. Other than that, not much. Apart from that nice lady that Boris Johnson put in the House of Lords for no apparent reason that anyone can discern. But we can imagine. 0345 6060 973. Luton. Hello, Adam.
Hey, how's it going?
Yes,
Good?
great, mate.
Fantastic. So, just like, another week in Brexit Britain and the horrors that have followed. But
La La Land.
I was thinking, how we could make this Rwanda policy work. And I was thinking that we should take inspiration from our past and get back to doing some good old colonising. Because surely that is the only reason why Rwanda doesn't work, but then it did work when we used to send our undesirables to Australia. And I was thinking, when I heard, Venezuela is thinking of taking back parts of Guyana, that maybe we should, call up America or the countries that we gave independence to and just say we've changed our mind. And then maybe we could send people to those countries. Do you know what I mean? Surely that's the reason why Rwanda is not... We're not able to do it when there was nobody to contest us when we were sending us people from Birmingham in the north and stuff like that to Australia back in the day. So surely we should get back to taking some other countries that we gave back out of the kindness of our hearts. And then no one would be able, if it was part of the United Kingdom, but we had some land, because that's the problem. We don't have the land that we used to have because we gave it back to those people who wanted their independence.
Yeah, sure. We could annex Luton, Adam, and we could put them all there. How does that sound?
Well, it's not a problem for me.
I say we should build a big, beautiful wall around Luton and solve all of our problems at a stroke.
Well, it already feels like there is a wall around Luton. It is the worst, one of the worst places in the world.
Well, I'm glad that you said that.
However, I just think, like, there is no way that we can get this Rwanda policy to work. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I was just thinking, like, when is the only other time that we've sent the people that we don't like to other countries and then willingly take the people that we're sending there? And the only time we could do it is when we own them countries. So unless we decide to, I think your colleague recommended the Isle of Wight, but I'm sure, like, that's probably what the people that want to send Rwandans away want this country to be, but probably spelled WHITE. Do you know what I mean? So clearly, the only way we're ever going to get the Rwanda policy is if we own the land, so there'll be no...
All right, you're just repeating yourself now, Adam. I get it, 100%. And the answer is no.
No.
It's a no from me, and everybody else as well. Mark, plus we don't have the firepower. We actually don't. Did you hear about this? We don't have the firepower to take over Luton, never mind about Rwanda. One moment, please. I'll just come up with this in a second. Ah, here it is. I mentioned this yesterday briefly in passing. We're all in great danger.
Warning.
2 very worried former military chiefs have warned that Britain has been left exposed in a dangerous world as the military faces a £16.9 billion budget gap. 2 very worried former military chiefs said... The warnings came after the National Audit Office found that the military faces a budget gap of £16.9 billion, as analysis from the Ministry of Defence showed their plans to buy weapons and equipment were unaffordable. In better news, we can buy aircraft carriers, but we can't afford the engines that make them go, and we can't afford the aircraft that they were built to carry. We can afford bullets, but we can't afford the rifles to fire them. So we are training our military to throw bullets at an advancing threat, because that'll teach them. A budget gap of £16.9 billion is the largest budget deficit in defence spending ever recorded of all time. Former top brass from the armed forces said they were very worried. But as they are experts in possession of facts, no one was remotely interested in anything they had to say.
Correct.
The government's vowed to return defence spending to 2.5% of GDP when the fiscal conditions allow for it. In the meantime, they will continue to bung massive contracts for everything that we thought our taxes were going on to friends of the regime and the donor class, because that is the right and proper and robust thing to do. And if you say the words right and proper and robust enough, it makes it so. Lord Stirrup, who is a real person and not some name I just made up, Lord Stirrup, who was head of the armed forces between 2006 and 2010, said, "This gap between the resource and the ambition is serious and leaves us exposed in an increasingly dangerous world." Former head of the Navy, Lord West of Spithead, also not made up, he told Piers, "There is no doubt whatsoever that we need more money spent on defence. Yes, we're very short of money, but sometimes if things are so dangerous and so worrying, you have to adjust your priorities." It said, "It does seem to me that we are lulling ourselves into a false sense of security." Security? Anybody feeling secure?
No.
Sources say the biggest problem in the UK is the UK's procurement system, as Britain routinely pays more and waits longer than its NATO partners for military equipment.
Fabulous.
So the biggest threat to the nation is the incompetent dopes who've been running this country for their personal amusement and enrichment. They couldn't buy a gun for list price in an arms fair. And their inability to do their jobs is leaving us all in danger. While the perfumed princeling wafts about, pretending to care about stopping the boats because he literally can't think of anything else to avoid the embarrassment of getting chucked out of a job that he is plainly unsuited to doing. Am I hallucinating, or is this real life? The Earl of Minto. And I know you're not going to believe this, but I didn't make that name up either. The Earl of Minto, a defence minister, said, "I don't buy the fact that this plan is unfundable and unworkable." He assured peers that the government is taking the National Audit Office's report very seriously. "We're looking at this with great strength, very strongly." But we should not be fearful, perhaps, because we have the Defence Secretary to protect us. And this week, the Defence Secretary is Grant Shapps. I say if we're going to have somebody who doesn't know anything about the military in charge of the military, let's get Gavin Williamson back. Because at least he was funny.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
This is a story from The Sun in 2018. Defence Secretary, because he was Defence Secretary at the time, Gavin Williamson. Defence Secretary Gavin Williamson has stunned military chiefs with crackpot ideas to solve an equipment crisis, because they had an equipment crisis in 2018, which I believe they were facing a budget black hole that was even bigger than the supposedly the all-time biggest black hole of military funding that we're suffering from now. It was even bigger then, and they're calling that the current one is the biggest of all time. I think in 2018 they were talking about 20 billion. And as I've just explained, today they're talking about 16.9 billion as the biggest funding gap ever. But, I'm no expert on maths, but I think that 20 is a bigger number than 16.9. But anyway, let's not get bogged down in, a couple of billion here and a couple of billion there. In 2018, Defence Secretary Gavin Williamson has stunned military chiefs with crackpot ideas to solve an equipment crisis, including fitting tractors with guns. A source said, "This man's out of his mind. No one knows what to do." Which wouldn't be so serious if it wasn't the blooming military. According to several senior sources, his crackpot ideas include, but are not limited to, mounting, quotes, "really expensive guns" on tractors and disguising mobile missile defence systems as Coca-Cola lorries. Buying old commercial ferries and transforming them into beach assault craft. Anyone from the Navy want to weigh in on that? And wasting thousands of hours of civil service time on plans to launch his own medal. Good grief. One insider said staff are at their wits' end with Williamson, who insists on keeping a pet tarantula called Cronus in his MOD office.
Oh, fabulous.
Like he's 12. You get the idea that at this moment we're being run by a bunch of cranks and off their head incapables. But this has been going on for quite a while now. I know that each day brings another alarming revelation, but don't forget that we've been suffering from this for quite a while now. The source added, "We need billions of pounds and serious ideas to tackle serious problems. Yet Williamson is mucking about with his spider and coming up with crazy suggestions." The man is out of his mind. This is a source saying this. They said his behaviour is totally bizarre and no one knows what to do. Well, you've got the army. Use it. Sources say ex-furniture salesman Gavin Williamson's failure to grapple with the detail and refusal to heed expert advice is proving disastrous. Williamson's ideas for armed tractors is said to have come out at a summit on the equipment budget. A source said, "Gavin just came out with it. He said, Can't we buy tractors and put really expensive guns on them?" People were open-mouthed. Others did not know where to look. It was totally bizarre. And that same Gavin Williamson, by the way, is now Sir Gavin Alexander Williamson, CBE. Because if you're good at your job, you get prizes. Again, What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
I am stunned. How about you, Carol?
Yeah.
That's Carol McGiffin, by the way. I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol?
Oh, right, yeah.
The idea is we take people's problems and we try to solve them while laughing our faces off. Now, if you want us to have a bash at your issue, you must send it to the following address: nickandcarol@global.com. That's nickandcarol@global.com. But you must prepare for total satisfaction. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol?
Oh, right, yeah.
We have a big announcement coming shortly, and the one that's coming out on Monday is our 196th episode. That's 196 hours of top-quality entertainment that we've managed to put together without killing each other. So the website or the web name, the podcast name is "What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol?" You'll get it on Global Player, which I recommend to the house.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
No!
Mike texts, if passing a law to make Rwanda a safe country works, they'll pass a law to make knife and gun crime legal and magically bring down the crime figures, lowest figures in history. One of their top priorities. And he spelt it out like that. Priiiorryt, etc. Southampton, hello, Simon.
Hello, Nick. I'm calling you from the annual Agricultural and Defence Show, where everything is world-beating.
Yeah. I heard that he wanted to mount cannons on cows. That he
Yeah, they've got them here at the Agricultural and Defence Show.
Right. I'll have a couple of those.
Yeah, and the guy that makes them says they're well-beaten.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, also, when I spoke to him, he said that they've never put so much money into defence ever.
Yeah.
That they do now.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard that somewhere else before, haven't we?
Yeah, on a daily basis about whatever it is that they're talking about. Yeah, the NHS,
Now,
and the police, and the nurses, doctors. And
two more quick points.
a couple of 3 points.
I agree with you on one thing and disagree with you most strongly on another.
Okay.
First thing I agree with is building a big, beautiful wall all around the paradise that is Luton.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And if you build a wall, nobody could possibly get through it.
If there's a concrete wall in front of you, go through it, go over it, go around it, but get to the other side of that wall.
Well, as somebody that's Luton born and bred, I am more than qualified to say that sending people there would be an act of complete cruelty.
Well, there is one great thing about Luton, let's not kid ourselves. It has a world-beating airport. It's the way in which you can leave Luton the quickest.
Yeah, but if you want to drop someone off in a taxi, it costs about 20 quid.
How
to
much?
Drop someone off, yeah.
No, it doesn't. No, it could not possibly cost £20 to drop somebody off at Luton Airport. Couldn't.
It's about that.
I bet it's a fiver. I bet it's not even a fiver.
Can anybody clarify? Because the last I heard it was $15.75, and that was over 5 years ago.
It cannot possibly be that to drop somebody at Luton Airport. It can't.
It costs £6 as a taxi. It costs £6 to drop someone off at Southampton Airport.
Well, cab drivers, if that is the case, then cab drivers would just be chucking their passengers out of the car as they slow down on the motorway near the airport.
Well, we just slow down on the approach road and tell them to get out.
Right.
I am not paying that for that.
Right. Okay, I've got the...
in fairness, when they phone up and book, I always say that right, so let's talk Southampton Airport. The fare is £30. Yeah. Now, you've got a choice.
From where? From where?
From wherever. From say, the area where I work, New Forest to Southampton Airport. The fare is £30. Yeah. You can pay £30, but if you want me to drop you off inside the airport, it's £36. Yeah. Your choice.
Right. But we can disregard all of the above because there is no such place as Southampton Airport. Does not exist.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, was that it? Excellent work. Thanks a lot, Simon. I thought that there was something else. I thought he said one thing. We wanted a couple of things, and he only mentioned one. Or maybe it just dropped off. It's in a drop-off zone. Speaking of which, the London Luton Airport Terminal drop-off charge is a £5 fee for 10 minutes. That applies to all vehicles dropping off passengers at the designated priority drop-off zone. It's a priority drop-off zone, closest to the terminal building. Charges of £5 for 10 minutes and £1 for each additional minute.
What?
It used to be free, didn't it? Still, never mind. I'm not going anywhere anyway. Hull. Hello, Charles.
Oh, hi, Nick. You're sounding well and chipper.
Thanks.
And things.
Chirpy.
Chirpy. Absolutely, yeah. I've got, actually, just as an aside, I've got cousins in North Yorkshire, but I don't think they see much of the Williamson, you know.
Right. Nobody cares about your cousins.
Well, maybe they've got better taste. I don't know. Yeah, there is one thing. I'm afraid it's Boris again, the Johnson.
Yes, Boris Johnson.
Greedy nincompoop. Commons Committee rooms, apparently 3 hours early to escape the cameras, apparently. Yeah. But he was also wearing a grey bobble hat and Grimsby Town regalia.
Why?
This is it. Well, what's happened now is that Grimsby Town have got really angry because they believe that Boris is dissing them and generally causing trouble again.
Yeah, I saw that bobble hat, and it had letters on it, and I can't remember what they were. Was it GTFC?
Grimsby Town. Oh, by the way, they beat Crewe today.
Not remotely interested. But is it GTFC? Grimsby Town Football Club. Is that the...
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
so what the homework today is, girls and boys, is to come up with alternative meanings for GTFC. Oh, I've got one. I've got two. But I cannot share them with you.
Disgusting.
Yeah, all right. Thanks a lot for the news there, Charles. 0345 6060 973. Simon says, Margaret Thatcher gave away our water, our North Sea gas and oil, and that made $1.6 trillion in profit. Gave away our energy companies that increased their profits by 400%, whilst millions fall into fuel poverty. Is it too late to have a criminal prosecution? Stan says, crossings down by a third. This is the small boats thing. He says, crossings down by a third. Nothing to do with it being winter then. I think it's on a yearly basis. I think up to about now, I think they're on about 27,000 crossed. And last year it was 40,000. But please, the government would invite you to concentrate on that relatively small and easily handleable number rather than the 600,000 that they ushered in with a visa. Concentrate on the 3 to 4%. And not the bigger picture, because that would, probably not do him any favours. Mark says, we don't want to hear from the House of Lords. No, we don't. I read that one about the House of Lords. And I said, Jenny Jones, Prem Sicker. You go, Jenny. Kath texts, bring back Boris. He was doing his best. If they did, it would be like Bobby Ewing in the shower, and we could all forget Liz and Rishi ever happened. Yeah, we could all turn over and watch something else. Exactly. Golders Green. Hello, Daniel. Hi, Nick.
Hearing you mention the great political heavyweight that is Gavin Williamson, it made me think, given that Fishies brought back Lord David Cameron, Mr. with plums in his mouth. I
think this is nonsense.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy. Would we be surprised, Nick, if the next announcement on the Rwanda boats issue is that Fishy announces that he's bringing back Gavin Williamson to stand to be mounted on the White Cliffs of Dover to tell all the migrants, the boat people, to shut up and go away.
Go away. Yes. Well, we need somebody patriotic.
I just reckon we've got the very best people in this country, much better than the French have, much better than the Belgians have, much better than the Americans have. That doesn't surprise me at all, because we're a much better country than every single one of them.
A much better country than every single one of them. God. It's just excruciating, is it? I mean, this is embarrassment on a planetary scale that is happening to us right now. What have we done to deserve this? I would like the answer to that question, because it must have been awful, and I can't remember what it was. I mean, it must have been so bad that there would have been an enormous amount of illegal fun, you would imagine, to have to suffer through this nightmare. But sadly, it must have been so much fun that I blacked it out. I just can't recall. Can you recall, Daniel?
Sorry?
No need to apologise, but I wish you all the best. Thanks a lot, Daniel. Clive says, looking forward to election night, getting plenty of popcorn in for what will make Passchendaele look like a slight misunderstanding. My first Labour policy is to get rid of the small boats by replacing them with big boats. Now, why hasn't anybody else thought of that? Solve the small boat problem by replacing them with bigger boats. Jess texts, whoever takes over from Sunak, it won't be Farage. He's too lazy and he knows he'll fail. He'd be a laughingstock inside of 2 months. He's a bit more self-aware than Bodger, so we won't let that happen. And he'd rather present afternoons on Talk TV than be leader of the opposition. Yeah, well, it probably pays better, doesn't it? Plus, there's no danger of him losing to a man in a dolphin suit. 0345 6. I mean, this is the position that we're in now. People are actually talking about that man taking over this country. Well, I'll just pause and let that sink in. That guy. Him. Being the leader of this country. You believe that?
I'm a nutcase.
Mind you, I mean, weirder things have happened.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Here are the studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
Yes, let's see now. This studio call is coming from Bath, and it's from a bloke called John. John.
Hello, Nick. I don't know what it is that we did, but I think we should be punished for it, because I can't remember either.
No.
But it must have been bad.
It must have been terrible. That's right.
I know, to have a kind of a collective blackout like that, I mean, it's got to have been awful.
Yes, I know. I wish somebody had taken pictures.
Yeah, I have a horrible feeling. I kind of, I blotted out of my mind waking up with Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yeah, but... OK, let's not get carried away.
Let's not get carried away. No, do you know what I was just saying to your...
I did actually have a dream about Jacob Rees-Mogg, which
you mentioned.
Yeah,
I
talked about that.
To the bottom of it.
I talked about that a while ago. He was very, very nice to me. He picked me up in his car, and from memory, which of course with dreams starts to fade almost the moment you wake up, but he picked me up in his car because I was hitching, and we went back over to his place, and we had tea. And I was thinking in my dream that he's being rather nice to me, considering how dreadfully awful I've been to him.
No. Probably paint a picture. If I can imagine him slowing down next to you and saying, "Where shall I take you, sweet cake?" Oh my God!
Yeah.
Well, do you know what I was thinking? I was talking to your producer fellow recently. In order to keep relatively sane, I've started messing about with spoonerism. And it seems to be the only way I can tolerate the current Conservative government is by switching their first two initials around. So it's like Frank Bruno, say if it was him, it would be Frank Bruno. Rishi Sunak would be Sissy Runak. You'd have Theresa May, Marisa Tay. You'd be Ak Nibbert.
Who?
Ak Nibbert, I suppose, wouldn't you? It's really difficult.
Ike Nabbert. Yeah.
That's it. But all of these names, for me, seem to, for some reason, they sum up the Conservative Party's personality more than their own name does. Jacob Rees-Mogg. makeup, Reese, jog. I've got too much free time. Nick,
yeah, a little bit, yeah. And as you were saying these, my mind was trying to jump ahead to try to stem the tide of rudeness that I thought was definitely coming my way.
No. I'm quite kind of conscious of that.
Right.
I mean, look, Waving Gilliamson.
That's about as close as we can go. Yeah.
What about what's her name? Bruella Swaverman.
I want you to keep thinking, John, because it's quite clearly what you do best.
Okay, but what can I just say just to end on, Nick?
Yes.
Do you know, is it wrong that I actually thought when they were all eating, these One Nation Conservatives were all eating in a Sicilian restaurant called Garden?
Mm-hmm.
I was just hoping for a bout of food poisoning to hit them.
Really? Right.
Well, yeah, because
one of them would get up to go to the loo, and he'd be searching around the back of the cistern to see.
Well, that's the whole different poisoning, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Good work. Thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. These are the 5 families trying to make Rishi Sunak an offer he cannot refuse. The New Conservatives, a right-wing traditionalist group led by evangelical Christians.
Oh,
no. No. Really? I thought that was an American thing. A right-wing traditionalist group led by evangelical Christians called Mariam Cates and Danny Kruger. Its ranks are drawn mainly from MPs first elected in 2019, with a lot of red wall politicians, including but not limited to Tory Deputy Chairman Lee Bloomin' Anderson. Oh, my God. It was formed in May, but it's made the headlines agitating for a more hardline party that is tough on immigration and pro-traditional families and strong in fighting a culture war. The right-wing traditionalist group led by evangelical Christians has called for a hard cap on migrant numbers, just like Jesus would do. And then there's the European Research Group, an older Brexiter group on the right of the party that came to the fore during the Brexit years under Jacob Smug.
I don't know anything.
It's now led by Marc Francois. And then there's the Common Sense Group.
Oh, fabulous.
Another group on the right led by Cruella Doberman and Sir John Hayes and Sir Edwin Lee. In 2021, it backed a Britain Uncancelled campaign, with Sir John launching a blistering attack on statue toppling, politically correct woke warriors, and demanded to know why Whitehall departments granted huge sums of money to groups that were entirely hostile to British values of fairness and open-mindedness and mutual respect and reasonableness. I'll sum up the Common Sense Group's position on everything. And then there's the One Nation Caucus, a group of more than 100 MPs on the moderate wing of the party. It's described leaving the European Court of Human Rights as a red line for its members, as in it doesn't want to. Not that it does. It's said to be unhappy at the law giving ministers unilateral plans to brand Rwanda as safe and overrule human rights laws, and may yet refuse to back the new law in Parliament. Wow. The sensible wing of the Tory party. They say they believe in giving everyone a fair chance. They believe in public services. They think climate change is a thing. They believe in the regulation of industry. I mean, if you're in a party where the only people who are making any sense to the people outside the party are considered cranks within the party, maybe you're at the wrong party. And then there's the Northern Research Group, founded to represent Conservatives in seats in the north of England, which we don't need to concern ourselves with, as they'll be looking for other employment after the next general election. That is assuming that the regime allows us to have one, and that the next general election is not cancelled for our safety. Which at this point would not remotely surprise me. Steve texts, just listened to last night's show and I was struck by Stacey's call. Refugees are being housed in pontins. Have those poor damp people not suffered enough? And Marcus says, I recommend the new Netflix film Leave the World Behind. If you like Don't Look Up, you'll definitely like this one. I'll stick it on my list. 0345 6060 973. Penge. Pete.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Okay. Well, the reason for my call is a question, but can I just run a couple of other things past you first?
Well, you'll have to buck up about it.
Okay. So, Sir Gavin and Sir David and Sir Cruella. Oh, sorry, she's a lady. It doesn't ring right, does it?
What doesn't?
Look, Sir Gavin, Sir David.
Oh, none of that, dude. No. None of them ring right, whether they were sirs or not.
What about this one, though? Sir Nick Abbot.
Yeah, no, definitely not. That's not going to happen. Not now. Not ever. Never.
No. Anyway. They asked Titchy suit size, is he going to stand for PM this time? He says, I was standing last time.
Right. Okay, all right. Another listener with material.
Oh, no.
Plus, it's very, very hard to hear you. Stop fiddling about with your phone, man, and speak directly into the mouthpiece. Alan texts, God bless you, Nick. I am thoroughly miserable, and you've just cheered me up with your cynical humour. Cynical? Just be careful, the right-wing press will have the hate headline, ban this lefty radio host soon. Yeah, well, they'll have to get around the more considerable presence of James O'Brien first. I would assume that, A, they've never heard of me, and B, if they had, I would be too insignificant to bother with. But James O'Brien better watch out. He said, a bit of light relief in this violent and nasty world, and a death-rattled, dying Tory administration dragging everybody with them. Oh, cheer up, Alan, it might never... Oh, no, that's right. It already has. Owain texts, how Tory is it that they reach their highest yet level of insanity after... That's a good point. It says, how Tory is it that they reach their highest yet level of insanity after appointing a Minister of Common Sense? Yeah, good point, Owain. And Tom says, small boats, Meghan Markle, and how bad it would have been under Jeremy Corbyn is all the right wing have left to distract people. It's kind of sad. It is a bit sad, yeah. I mean, if they weren't so thoroughly deserving, I might be, a little upset at their travails. But they are, and I'm not. So who's it going to be then? If they're going to change the PM, who's it going to be? So I'll come to that in a minute. There's just so much to talk about. How am I going to squeeze it into a brief 3-hour show? It just fair boggles the mind, don't it? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Okie dokie.
H-O-T-A-I-R.
I cannot believe that Titchy Suit Size is actually saying to the Labour Party, please help me to get my crackpot bill through. And he will blame the Labour Party if they don't do that for his own failure. What's doubly bizarre is that these days I would be more surprised if the Labour Party didn't help him out. What a country, eh? I am stunned. Paul says, I have to take issue with your statement that you don't learn from history. Hitler invented fake news and had a band of followers, stormtroopers, who carried out his wishes, but who he could distance himself from when questioned. A bit like Donald Trump's assault on the Capitol. You might need to amend your theory on the Tories' policy decisions. I think they say, what would Goebbels have done? Well, usually it's what would Donald Trump do? In any given moment, on any particular issue, the Tories almost always decide based on what would Donald Trump do. Dave texts, I can't find my tin opener and I want to put more kidney beans in my chilli. Can you ask the listeners to have a look to see if anyone has accidentally picked it up? Says Dave. Yeah, OK, I'll do that. There's ways you can open a tin opener. I think I've seen videos on the World Wide Web of how to open a tin without a tin opener. Can't quite remember what they were. I think there are detailed instructions in the book 3 Men in a Boat. You can look it up later and thank me now. 0345 6060 973. St Albans. Hello, Phil.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, Phil.
I hope you're well.
Yes, very thanks.
Good. I've got a solution to your car issues, if you still have them.
What car issues?
In fact, you have more than one, but only one that works.
Ah, yes.
So, you know the one that you don't drive anymore?
Yes.
I know what that is.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's a car.
No, I mean, I know exactly what car it is.
I seriously doubt that.
Okay. So, if I told you, would you be surprised?
Yes.
Okay. Can I tell you?
No.
You don't want it going out there, do you?
Well, I don't wish to be surprised.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you anyway.
Go on then.
Okay. So you've got I think it's a E46 3 Series convertible BMW.
No. Better luck next time.
So you were talking to Carol about your car.
Carol McGiffin. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you were talking about the fact that because it's an auto, you don't think it's worth very much, sort of to sell on.
Right.
Now, the solution I would give you for that is to, if you like the car, is to convert it to electric.
Yeah, way too much money.
Well, not really, because if you did that, it would be cheaper than buying a new car, and you could then keep it, and it would probably hold its value. It would probably be worth what you put into it, as opposed to a car that would depreciate like a rock.
Yeah. The thing with old cars, though, is that they really feel old. Like, on the very seldom occasions that I've actually driven it in the last 3 years or so, but when I started up and you've got to recharge the battery and all of the rest of it and pull the cover off it and it's like a right folderol, you get in and stopping is an issue. Because the brakes aren't like a new car's brakes. If you dab a new car's brakes, the car comes to a stop. If you slam your foot on the old car's brakes, nothing much happens, really, which is alarming.
It's a bit ageist, though, isn't it, Nick?
Yes.
So, you're old, but I bet you feel great.
Well, yeah, but I don't have a
braking issue.
Yeah, I don't have a braking issue, and neither do I have something on my dashboard that says I've done 100,000 miles.
Well, so if you do decide to sell it, can I suggest that you then advertise it as the auto is a bonus? This could be converted to electric.
Right.
Make sort of pump it up a bit. I reckon you get good money for it.
Okay.
This car that isn't a BMW and isn't convertible.
Isn't convertible? No. Okay. All right. Good advice. Thanks a lot, Phil. 0345 6060 973. This says best method: use a spoon. What does that mean? If you have a little time and a spoon, try this method. Method of what? What is this a method of?
Opening tins.
Opening tins. Stupid. Best method, use a spoon. Now, I don't recommend that I haven't read this, but I don't recommend that you try this. I recommend that if you are having problems opening a tin, then you get in a trained professional. Best method, it says use a spoon. If you have a little time and a spoon, try this method. First, get the right grip. Grip the bowl i.e. not the handle, of a sturdy spoon in the palm of your hand so that your forefingers are firmly grasping it. The tip of your index finger should rest near where the bowl meets the handle. I'm lost already. Your pinky should sit inside the curve of the bowl, which stabilises your grip and enables you to more easily control the tool. The tip of the spoon should just stick out a little bit below your pinky. And that's where this explanation ends. What the hell am I supposed to do with this spoon that I am gripping so complicatedly? That was the worst explanation ever. OK, I've got a spoon, now what? This is another solution. If you have a chef's knife on hand, it can serve as a can opener replacement. Specifically the heel of the knife or the back part of the cutting edge. Oh, you know what? Look it up yourself. I can't be bothered with this. Or just eat something else, for crying out loud. Haven't you got anything else in your cupboard? Eat an egg. Glasgow. Hello, Frankie.
How we doing, Nick? All right?
Yes, good, thanks.
Just before I get to my main point, have you accepted Jesus into your life, Nick? Because if you don't, you'll go to hell.
Yes.
You know you'll go to hell.
Nick.
Have you read the good book, Nick?
Have you accepted Jesus, Nick? Have you heard the word?
You actually do a better Scottish accent to him than I do.
Yes, we're talking about an old chronic caller that used to ring all the blooming time. Hey, Frankie, there's something wrong with your phone.
Oh, sorry. How's that?
That's better, yeah.
Right.
Right, carry on.
I was saying, I switched off one night. I was actually with my ex-girlfriend. Maybe she left me because of that, but I was like, oh no, it's my so-and-so from Westminster. Mm-hmm. So I switched out of the channel 10 minutes later. Hello. It's all down to God. There's too many sinners in the world. If Jesus Christ walked this earth and he sacrificed, I was like, right, that's plenty.
All right. But anyway.
Right, anyway, aye. But have you seen that? And this is down to you, Nick. I've patented this. The fabricant, no, the hairdo.
The fabricant hairdo?
You remember a couple of months back I phoned and I couldn't get the guy's name and I was like,
yeah.
Nick, who's that guy with
Michael
the hair?
Fabricant, with the hair. Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, Michael Fabricant, yeah.
No, but Fabricant's got the best part. Remember you said no wig. It's not a wig because no wig maker in the world. With any self-respect would make that.
And nobody would buy one that looks like that. So it must be real, but it looks like a plate of plastic pasta to me, of the type that a cheap restaurant would put in the window.
Well, have you seen the new Argentinian head case?
Well, yes, yeah, they're all the same. I know.
He's got a fabricant.
He does, but not in the same colour.
No, I know in the same colour, but I mean, come on, he's went for the style, hasn't he?
There's just something about the autocrat that they have to have some sort of weird hair, don't?
But how do you even get hair like that?
I have no idea.
It's definitely not a setup, right? We've came to that conclusion. No wig maker on the planet would go there.
No.
So no, you can't. I think it's. I don't know.
Maybe he thought he was buying hair gel, but he actually bought shellac. That's possible.
Did you see? Did you see his press conference? Well, he sacked everybody.
Are you talking about on Argentina now, or is the Michael Fabricant?
No, that
Argentina, right? Well, he's got big problems, huge. You know what the inflation rate is in Argentina?
It's something like 500 or something.
No, well, not quite, but it's crazy. It's a crazy number. 143% in inflation.
What?
That's
143%.
Skidos are run for the money, isn't it?
I mean, that's the kind of money that you'd have to, like they did in Germany before the war. They'd be taking wheelbarrows. The wife would be taking a wheelbarrow to the factory gates, and the husband would be throwing over the money that he earned that morning because they would insist on getting paid twice a day, and she would tootle off with a wheelbarrow full of cash to go buy a loaf of bread. And we know what happened next.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to talk about Germany and Argentina in the same breath.
No.
You know what I mean? Now, is it? Raise
Exactly
suspicion.
right. Yeah. Okay, keep your eyes peeled. Thanks a lot, Frankie. 0345 6060 973. David texts. Oh, no, read that one. Tin opener. Don't want to go down that avenue anymore. John says, is it possible the Tories never meant Rwanda to be a deterrent? Is it possible that Rwanda was instead meant to act as a deodorant to mask the smell of the mess that the Tories have made of everything? I don't see how anywhere can be a deterrent if they claim that it's so nice. I mean, pick one. It's supposed to be awful if it's a deterrent, or it's a nice place to send people. You can't have both. And Dave says, could we not just get soldiers to buy their own weapons? Yeah, good idea. Yeah, it'd be like a BYOW, not a BYOB, because that is a Boris Johnson business meeting. A BYOW. Yeah, good idea. 0345 6060 973. Merthyr Tydfil. Jeff.
Well, Nick, how are you, boy?
I am super. Thanks for asking.
You know the emergency legislation that is pending with the Conservatives?
Yes.
I was thinking today, they can do anything, can't they? They can spend $250 million taking people to Rwanda. They can make a mess of everything. They can paint out murals on reception centres.
Yeah.
There isn't anything that this crew of lunatics can do. But there's one thing that they are proposing to do, which I think won't be their death. Now, it'll wipe them out.
Go on.
They are proposing to look into pensioners' bank accounts to see if they've got a fair couple of bob so they can dock them on their pension.
Right.
I'll tell you what, that will bring about a revolution in the UK.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if because they rely on the pensioner vote, because the 65 plus are pretty much the only demographic that votes Tory, and
Exactly.
and it's been that way for a while now. And the way that as the older generation dropped off the end of the conveyor belt of life, they would be replaced by a younger generation who were lefty, liberal, snowflake wokeratis in their younger years, but as they achieved wealth and they bought houses and so on, they got more small C conservative, which led them to vote big C conservative in their later years. But that equation is broken fundamentally because kids aren't acquiring wealth. They can't buy a house. So the youth who are lefty become the old people who are lefty. So the Tories are actually looking at complete oblivion, unless they can get us exercised about small boats or playing the blooming national anthem when kids get their diplomas, or just stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, but the one factor that you haven't taken into account, which I have witnessed during my lifetime, is that these young wokey cokies will end up like gammons. They will turn pink, they'll get fatter, and they will vote Tory no matter what.
No, you're not listening to me. They won't, because they will not have acquired wealth or houses. They won't have anything to protect by voting Tory. And they will be angry at the Tory party for their circumstance. So they're not going to vote Conservative in their older years, as previous generations inevitably did.
Yeah, but you're talking about a 40-year cycle.
Yeah.
I'm talking about today.
Right.
I'm talking about now.
But even now, I mean, 40
years. Election.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that soon, yes. But if the if the elderly were going to turn against the Tories for treating them badly, they would have done that already, because our state pension is among the meanest in the Western world. I mean, people work all of their lives and they pay national insurance all of their lives in order to be taken care of in their hour of need. And the government is systematically removing every safety net that they would traditionally have relied on, like the health service, for instance, which is unavailable for you unless you have a lot of money and you can march straight to the front of the queue. and the pensions, and they're removing, or they're sort of defunding the benefits system. And so looking into people's bank accounts to see whether they've just taken a tenner for doing somebody's shopping or not isn't really going to make the slightest bit of difference, because they, if they were going to be persuaded not to vote Tory by having been treated badly by the Conservatives, then they would have done that already.
We'll see. We'll see. I've listened to you, Nick. You have your point of view. I have mine.
Right.
Next year will be the election.
Well,
and if you
upset
the old age pensioners, you are looking for big, big trouble.
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff. 0345 6060 973. That is the demographic that is absolutely, totally certain to go out and vote, regardless of what the weather is like. Young people on the other end can't be bothered. Oh, no, it's just so boring. They're all the same. I don't want to. I'll do it tomorrow. You know, that lot. Let's hope that the things are so serious that it will actually wake up the kids. Wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. Albert says, can you explain to me, if illegal boat people came from the French coast, why we can't just send them back to the French coast and bleep the Rwanda plan? Yeah, it was a little thing called Brexit. We used to be able to do that, but when we insisted on being outside of the European Union, that possibility was no longer available to us. Another Brexit success. The precise opposite of everything that you were promised. How's Brexit going, by the way?
Fabulous.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Who do you think you're talking to?
Well, let's see now. I'm talking to Raphael in Bexley.
Hello, Nick.
You sound like you're outside.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've got just a few points there, actually. I've got a solution for Conservatives.
Okay.
If they speak to Square Bradman and ask her for settled status...
Right, I absolutely have no idea what you're saying right now, Raphael. You're going to have to either call us back when you get inside or sign up as one of those TV weather persons who goes outside in a storm just to show us what rain and wind looks like. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to hear you there, Raphael. You're going to have to come into the light. Yvonne texts, how about using the British Antarctic Territory or South Georgia near the Falklands for illegal immigration? They are ours, so no problem with human rights. Cold weather clothing will be required. People coming up with ever more extravagant methods of trying to avoid the problem, which would be more easily solved here, without the ridiculous cost of sending people abroad to solve the problem. I mean, why don't we just do it here? Carol Vorderman did the maths on Twitter. She tweeted the following. Rwanda maths. The Tory government setup costs $290 million. Cost to send each person, $169,000. Add that to $290 million, and the total cost to send per person, if it was 100 people, which is about what we're looking at. I mean, it's such an insignificantly small number. It's just like, why even bother? 100 people. It would be £3,069,000 each if it was 100 people we sent. Keep in mind that we've sent 0 people at the moment. If we send 100 there, it would cost us, poor dopes who pay taxes, £3,069,000 per person. If we sent 300 people there, it would be $1,129,000 per person. If it was only if it was 1,000 people that we sent there, a vanishingly unlikely prospect, it would still be £459,000 per person. Or the total cost of housing support in the UK per person is £106,000. So the absolute minimum it would be is over 4 times as expensive to send people to Rwanda as to just deal with the problem here. And she says it sounds like a VIP lane scandal all over again. Yeah, me too. I mean, there's a massive amount of money being flung about here. Is anybody keeping track of it?
No.
No, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. And plus, last year it was something like 47,000 people that came here by small boats. Now, there was, I can't remember off the top of my head, so I'm just going to make it up. I think there was 700,000 people who came here otherwise. So already we're talking about 4% of the problem is people arriving on small boats. 4%. And that is what the government is spending 100% of its effort in concentrating on. They're spending 100% of their effort on 4% of the problem. Now, can you see an issue with that? But it's worse than that, because if we send 200 people to Rwanda, which is the initial figure that we've got, and that's probably about all that will happen. And keep in mind, by the way, that Rwanda can send a similar number back to us. I mean, people seem to forget that part. But yeah, as many as we send them, they can send us back. Different people, same problem. But if we take 200 and we send them to Rwanda, that is a 0.4% chance of being picked up and sent back. And that's supposed to be a deterrent. I mean, if you had a 0.4% chance of being apprehended by the law if you broke into somebody's garage and nicked their car, then there's a significant number of people who would say, wow, that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. 0.4% chance of getting nicked. And so you think that's going to act as a deterrent to people who have crossed a continent in order to get here? Of course they blooming well won't be. But, you can't tell them. Because he's all over it.
I am totally 100% on it.
He's 100% on our priorities.
It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority, up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
Yeah, he's gripping it. It's not the number one priority of the country, and neither is it his number one priority. I don't believe that he cares about it one single solitary bit. Not a bit of it does he care about small boats or people coming over here. It's not remotely interested, only as a method to save his political skin. And that's where we are. I mean, I would say it's our blooming fault for electing him in the first place. But, of course, we didn't. Did we? Sam text, get tractors, fit cannons. Sounds like a Tory party slogan. Rob says, gin and tonic fan club. What does that mean? Antonio texts, great time for Conservatives. These all sound like slogans. Am I missing something?
You asked people earlier to come up with alternatives for GTFC.
I did do that, didn't I? I forgot. I'm getting very, very forgetful. Now, I do recall that I do a couple of podcasts, one of which is called the Nick Abbot Habit, which is clips from old shows, which I do believe that you will find amusing. If you like this show, then you'll like that podcast. It's the funny parts of old shows that are sliced up and jammed together by me with my own personal hands. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. It's called the Nick Abbot Habit. It's about half an hour long, comes out on a Monday. I think you'll love it. It's on Global Player. If you haven't got a Global Player, it's available for free from your App Store or globalplayer.com. And you must ask for that podcast by name on an internet near you, the Nick Abbot Habit.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. Let's have Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, good evening, Nick.
Jan,
how are you?
I am great, mate.
Yeah, good. Great. Now, I thought two light-hearted things I'd start off first before I come to this, start some point about the imploding of the governments for different parties. But
you got a list.
I took your advice.
Yes.
To listen to AC/DC, one of their River Plate videos.
Yeah.
And gosh, I mean, I heard Thunderstruck.
Yes. And were you?
The video Thunderstruck.
Yes.
And it was amazing. I mean, it was amazing. It was so electric.
Yes.
I mean, it was totally
They were plugged in. That's right.
ocean. It's like seeing an ocean of people.
Of bouncing people, yeah. I've never seen anything like it in my life. If you have never seen the video of AC/DC at River Plate, then you should check it out. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how they're so energetic on the stage. They're all electrified,
Yeah.
or yeah.
They've definitely got something running through them. Yeah, those old geezers on the stage, and everybody in the audience is about a third of their age, and they're bouncing up and down like rubber balls.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean,
It's amazing.
We've all seen. We've all seen and may have experienced, we've seen Elvis, and the crowds he could sweep, carry away with him, and the Beatles.
Yeah.
But this is something.
This is something else. They've turned it up to 11. Correct.
They're not young, are they?
Who? AC/DC?
Yeah.
No, they are not young. That is correct. Yeah, not young.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I don't know how they can keep up an hour long. An hour?
An hour? I think it lasts a little bit more than an hour, Jan.
Sorry?
A little bit more than an hour. More than an hour long.
Yeah, there's a video that's an hour long of their concert. I just wonder how they can keep up that level of energy.
They think about the money, honey. Probably that. Yeah. Millions and millions of dollars.
So the other thing I want...
Yeah,
that was interesting. Thanks for that. I've got a list of things that you recommend we should listen to. So that's one of the ones I got.
Right.
So the other thing, the light-hearted thing, was this thing. It's kind of tickled me a bit because it's about how you can rent a Christmas tree rental business.
What?
For people who want real trees, because instead of artificial ones, there's a company in London. Well, I can't say the name of the company, can I? But
you can rent a Christmas tree.
Yeah, you can rent because people can rent. Their
because a Christmas tree isn't just for Christmas.
A real Christmas tree. They know. I mean, they can rent it every Christmas if they want. They to this company that if they don't want to keep the tree on their site or anywhere where they live,
like a pet.
Yeah. So they give it to this company and who'll look after it till next Christmas, and they can rent it back. Or
no.
No, this is true. And people who want to have a real tree, they can rent a tree, a real Christmas tree.
So if I rented a tree from these people, would I be able to go and visit it during the year? Do they send me pictures about, how it's doing?
Yeah, give it a stroke and, make it feel happy.
That seems like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. This is from the Taipei Times. So is this here?
Yeah, this is in Dulwich, actually, in London.
Well, then why are they talking about it in Taipei? That's the story that I got in front of me. Anyway, it says on a crisp winter's day at a London Scout Centre, seasoned customers pick their way along muddy rows of Christmas trees in pots labelled with their names, while newcomers. Wait a minute, Jan.
Sorry. I find it quite exciting.
You do get very excited. Yes. Now, just calm down. Take a breath. Take a breath.
It's hilarious.
See, no, you just can't do it. Take a breath. Breathe in. Hold it. Customers pick along muddy rows of Christmas trees in pots labelled with their names, while newcomers pondered about which one to rent. It's a big decision, said one person. With the rise in the popularity of artificial trees for environmental reasons, Londoners who prefer a real Christmas tree can now be equally sustainable. Instead of throwing away their tree in January, they can instead return it, having watered it in its pot over the festive season, to a new rental firm that looks after it until the following year. How will you know it's your tree? They all look the blooming same.
They label it. Well, in this particular company that I was found out about, they label the pots where the trees are growing with the owner's name.
How can it possibly be worth the money to rent a tree? I mean, trees only cost like 40, 50 quid.
Oh, no, the trees that I see in these pictures, they're huge, lovely, bushy pine trees, Christmas trees.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at a picture and no tree is taller than any of the people, unless these are microscopically small people, like, related to tissue suit size, for instance, then these trees are less than impressive.
But yeah, I mean, it seems such a novelty. It kind of tickled me, you know, just to see that someone could have a business going like that, rent a Christmas tree.
Well, they've spotted a gap in the market. I can't believe that they've managed to do that, but there it is. Yeah, I am now completely converted to artificial trees, and it's only because the place that I bought, the previous owner, left a huge artificial tree. It was all wrapped up in a bin bag, and I thought, I'm going to throw it out. But the skip was taken away, and I couldn't fit it in. And so I thought, I'll take it down the dump. But I pulled it out, and it's in two parts. What are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry. It's my biros here.
Your biros?
No, they're sitting in front of me. I highlight what I may, keep my, so I don't wander around too much.
Are you taking notes?
No, not now.
Are you keeping records of this conversation?
No. No. It's just because of the this tree business. No, right. The other thing I wanted to mention about, actually, one of the callers before me, he beat me to it. He mentioned about this. I was going to mention about this data protection and digital surveillance bill.
Yeah.
But I don't be all over the place while I'm speaking to you, but it was the thought about the parties imploding, as you were covering earlier, the Conservatives and Labour. It's like...
Well, I don't know about the Labour Party. I'm not sure that the Labour Party is imploding, but there's fireworks over at Conservative HQ.
I thought Labour was over the Gaza, they lost the MPs, how they split over that, another thing, that they're losing a whole
I wouldn't worry about that. The main show is the Tory party, Jan. Don't get distracted.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, coming back to it,
There's
really
more?
quite scary. It's quite scary. It's quite alarming, all the laws they're bringing in, like this data protection and digital surveillance bill.
Yes.
While the banks are getting rid of so many staff and all closing down, who is going to do the surveillance of trying to pick up who's on benefit fraud and things like that?
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. And will they be working from home? And has Smug actually given them has he left a little note on their desk saying, sorry, I missed you?
I don't know anything.
No, Nick, there's something more sinister behind it, because I remember a few months ago coming across this article about people were being accused of suddenly finding they're being accused of fraud, because what the banks had started to use, they started to use AI, artificial intelligence, to do things. Because I'm wondering how where are these people going to be who are checking everyone's accounts?
Well, like you say, artificial intelligence. If they come up with enough information, then you will be terminated,
correct,
or at least your account will be. I want you to keep that in mind, Jan, and tidy up your affairs. Yeah, there's a lot of particularly egregious bills going through, and new laws and regulations, one of which is about strikes, of course. It's pretty much making strikes illegal from this moment onwards. So I might get into that in a minute. And plenty else besides. Thanks a lot, Jan. Appreciate it. 0345 6060 973. Darryl says, does anybody else remember how we had one of the worst summers ever this year? As someone who lives by the channel, I can report that the sea was rough almost every single day. I mean, I'm not saying that would have had an effect on the number of small boat crossings. No, actually, I am saying that, says Darryl. Jerry says, this is all very depressing. Ideally, you shouldn't read this text out until tomorrow night, but it will probably be worse by tomorrow night. So maybe it's just better to get it out of the way by reading it out tonight. Is that it? Good one, Jerry. I didn't find it depressing at all, curiously. But maybe that's just because I'm, hard-hearted. But that particular text did not upset me, unless I missed a big chunk out of it. But I don't think I did. Scunthorpe. Hello, Tim.
Hey, mate. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
I'll put your morning notice. I'm not taking notes, and it's not recorded. This
good man. All right. We can speak freely. Go ahead.
We certainly can. Yeah, no one's listening. Going back to what you were saying about these defence echelons, sort of suggesting they're quite concerned about the levels of armed forces and the actual black hole, these billions of pounds of black hole. So I'm just thinking, I actually thought about that because when I got out of the army, I'm a veteran. I got out of the army, I actually started working with P&O from Hull, and that's a cross-channel ferry. And the average ship would take 1,000 people. So I thought to myself, 60,000 troops, 60-odd thousand, that's all we've got, as in the army. So if we wanted, en masse, just to put things into perspective, to shift the entire British Army onto the mainland of Europe on a cross-channel ferry, you're thinking 60 journeys. So with 4 ships, you're talking we could shift the whole army with just 4 ships in less than, 10 days. I mean, that is the scale of where we are. It's just that people think 60,000 troops. But when you start to put it down to capacity, and even on a ship, Nick, when, overnight crossings, you'd be surprised how 1,000 people can suddenly disappear into the cabins and things, and it was like a ghost ship. So you put that, and I wanted to say something else as well, is that with that number of troops that we've got, which isn't anywhere near what it used to be in the 80s, of course, I don't know if you knew, but the Army have actually got a new regiment called the Military Provoked Guard Service, and all they do is look. They're normally sort of guys that were brought back in from the redundancy phases, soldiers, former soldiers, etc. But all they do is guard the buildings, the establishments, the camps. So it makes you also wonder, Nick, what sort of training was going on, or what levels of training, because you think all they're doing is looking after their own.
They're just security guards.
That's all. Yeah, well,
I used to be a security guard. You know how qualified I was for the job?
Yeah,
not at all.
Well, there we go. I wanted to finish
I don't think it would take as many ships as you suggest. I mean, because we could, if it's the army, then we could, make them budge up a bit. We could squeeze them all onto the poop deck. I bet you.
Yeah, I'll just give you a quick update as well, Nick. I rang you quite some time ago. Well, we've had a couple of conversations, but it's when you breathed in that brick dust thing. Can you remember that? It was over that period of time, right?
Yeah.
Well, I told you then that I was hoping to have some surgery. Now it goes back to when it first started, 2018. I just want to update you. I go under the knife, mate, on the 21st of December, out on the doorstep of Christmas. But that's not what I was going to say to you. I'm on a diet, mate, and it's skimmed milk. I can have 3 pints of skimmed milk a day between now, that's all, and sugar-free jelly. It's called the jelly and milk diet, and it's to shrink my liver so that they can push my liver to one side and get at all the gubbins I need to get at.
Oh, God.
I know. I just thought I'd put that into your thing. So enjoy your Christmas.
Okay, I will.
And custard, mate.
All right, okay, excellent work. Thanks a lot, Tim, and I wish you all the best with your gubbins.
Disgusting.
Whatever that means. Tristan texts, just past a car parked in front of a disused building and some poor chap getting a parking ticket. I blame Jeremy Corbyn. I think he's talking about me. I parked in front of a disused building and they gave me a ticket at 1 in the morning.
What?
Yeah, in the morning. 1 in the morning. If I had picked up my pace on leaving this building, I wouldn't have got the ticket. I must have missed the guy by about a minute. And so I questioned the ticket. I pleaded with them by saying that, the dropped curb is neither here nor there because nobody uses the garage, which was why there was a dropped curb, because the building is disused now. I mean, half of it doesn't exist anymore. They've taken it away. And they said, thank you very much for your pleading, and we will get back to you in 30 days, something like that. And I never heard from them again. Months went by. Until a letter arrived the other day that said, because you have not contacted us, it's not 65 quid anymore, it's £130. What? So I had to call them up on the phone and correct them. And they charged me 65 quid because, by that method, I've taught them. It comes to something when you're grateful to only be charged 65 quid for blocking the entrance to a building, most of which does not exist anymore. What a life, eh? But you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Shut up.
I can't. 0345 6060 973. Cliff in Reading says, don't these small boats stop at Dover anyway? What's the problem? And Fiona says, you're a big music fan. Do you play anything? Specifically, do you play an acoustic guitar? My mum and dad have given me a fair chunk of cash to drop on a new acoustic guitar, and I'm torn between a breed love and a Furch. Well, rather than that, Fiona, I'd buy a guitar. If they're giving you money to buy a guitar, then I'd buy one of them instead of a breed love or a Furch, whatever they are. Bude. Hello, Adrian.
Hi, Nick. I've got a couple of free things.
Yes.
Okay, so the first thing is your mate, Michael Fabricant. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
He was actually, I know you don't like doing homework, but if you go on to YouTube, he was actually, all right, calm yourself. He was actually on a programme called First Dates.
Yeah, I saw a clip of that, yeah.
Right, yeah, well, she basically laughed at the spaghetti head on his head and wasn't very impressed with him. All right, that was one thing, but I didn't know you'd really seen that. The other thing is about your dream about the twizzle stick, aka Rees-Mogg.
Yes.
I think I can put you rest at shore because I don't think he'd pick you up or off you.
No, that's right, yeah. I don't think so either. Yes.
No, I think if you did, he'd charge you for it.
Yeah.
Right, the last one is, I know you've just spoken about AC/DC at the River Plate, and I know you hate doing homework, and I'm a drummer, and I really hate drum solos. But if you ever go on to Danny Carey, Vic Smith Presents, you see him playing drums live at all. And again, that's not my favourite band at all, but it is on another level of brilliant, and I think you might enjoy it. And
what was the name again?
Right, it's Danny Carey.
Who's that?
He's the drummer for a band called Tool.
Tool?
Yeah, which is where you'll find your mate in the tool shed.
Yeah, it's David Cameron's favourite band.
I think this is nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's called Victory because basically they're a drumstick who present it. But it's not a drum solo, it's him playing live with the band. But as a drummer, I really can't stick drum solos. I mean, I really rate some of them, but I can't sit there and listen to 20 minutes and just run.
I mean, that guy who used to do for Cream, who just thought so very much of himself, he would do that. He would break into a 20-minute drum solo, and Eric Clapton would nip out the back to overdose.
Yeah.
And by the time he'd come around, the drummer would still be playing. It was excruciating.
You know what? What's his name? Ginger Baker.
Ginger Baker, yeah.
When he plays like White Room and stuff like that, absolutely bang on. But to listen to him, he did that drum solo called Toad that goes on for about like a whole album.
Terrible.
Yeah,
absolutely awful. Yeah.
I'm telling you now, if you look at Danny Carey on Vic Smith Presents, and you don't see him doing a drum solo, he just shows him what he does within the band Tool. And I'm not into that band, Nick, I promise you. It's not like my type of music.
OK, well, I've noted it down on a piece of paper, which I will throw away later. All right.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Thanks a lot, Adrian. Cheers for the swerve. 0345 6060 973. Here's a guitar recommendation that's just come in for Fiona. You want a Washburn Bella Tono Allure SC56S. That sounds super. Get yourself a couple of them. Tricia says, I'm 69 and I don't vote Tory. I'm pretty sure that lots of us boomers have non-Tory attitudes to public services and global warming and housing, etc. Please don't tar us all with the older generation voting Tory brush, says Wokerati Tricia.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. And Sue says, do you think that Jesus was a Tory? I can't find any mention of it in my Bible, says Sue. She's scanned it from cover to cover. Oldbury. Hello, Ranjit.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, I am great, mate.
Yeah, you know this thing you're saying about the Tories, yeah? Okay. Unfortunately, there's a lot of gullible people, yeah? Can I just say hello to Jan? She's lovely. She's Jan from Tooting.
Yes, hello, Jan.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Jan.
Hello.
Hello, Jan.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah, like back in the day when Margaret Thatcher was electioneering.
Margaret Thatcher? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was only about 14. I remember we used to be scared of going out because we used to get, told by people, go home.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I was over at my mate's place, and his parents would be like, "Go home."
Yeah, but you never got called the P word, right? Anyway, and the thing is now, like these parties like Reform and that, yeah, all these people are saying, I try to explain your analogy about railway tracks. If you've just got a slight deviation of 1 little degree or a minute, after so many miles, there's going to be a gap, and people don't understand. Oh, no.
Well, if you explained it to them like you just explained it to me, then I'm not sure that I'm not sure I understood it, and I'm the one that came up with it.
Yeah,
we're talking about parallel lines, and people, in answer to people saying that there is no difference between the Tories and the Labour Party, so I can't be bothered to go and vote. Parallel lines, people. If there was no difference, then the parallel lines would remain at the same distance apart forever. Yeah. But if they just differ by 1 degree, just a tiny bit, then in a long period of time, there will be a huge difference between the two.
I use a lot of hand signals by deviating my arm as well, right? Anyway, but they say, oh, no, we're going to vote for Reform, like they used to vote for UKIP and... Yeah.
Well, I would encourage them to do that. I mean, it's about time that the right wing had more than one party to vote for, to split their vote to ensure their loss.
Yeah, Sunak, right, he's copying Margaret Thatcher, to be honest with you, by dividing people, right? Yeah. This Rwanda policy, it isn't a racist party. Well, it is a racist party, and it isn't. All it is to do is to divide people. Remember what Margaret Thatcher did back in the day, and she screwed everybody with the poll tax and says, go and take that to the bank, yeah? Right? And now the Red Wall people are having the same thing done to them, right?
They, as far as I'm aware, they knew what they were voting for, so they must be absolutely delighted with the way things have turned out. Sorry to say, Ranjit, I've got to go. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and...
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Words, more words.
More words. Tristan texts, the International Space Station is going to be decommissioned eventually. Can we fly these asylum seekers up there to store them? Yeah, that sounds like it would be good value for money. Yeah. God, that titchy suit size has got some nerve, hasn't he? He's telling Keir Starmer that the Labour should support the Tories in this crackpot idea about Rwanda in the national interest. Like he's remotely interested in the national interest. And that Starmer should rise above political games. Wow, the nerve on this bloke. The whole thing about Rwanda is a political game, and it's got zero to do with the national interest. I mean, if it was seriously about saving us money, then they wouldn't have even thought about it for one single solitary second. Because it's costing an unimaginably huge amount of money, and we haven't even got one person over there yet. And don't even get me started on the Bibby Blum in Stockholm, which is costing more to rent for 2 years than it would cost to put all of those people, to put 1,000 people on the Royal Caribbean's most luxurious yacht, including food and blooming entertainment. I mean, if that's value for money, then I'm a Knickerbocker Glory with cream on top. The national interest. And the most alarming thing about that is that Keir Starmer is probably more likely than not to vote with the government. Infuriating. It's just absolutely excruciating. It really is. And so what they're thinking about doing is changing the Prime Minister.
What?
Again. The Mail says warring Tories were last night told it would be insanity to attempt to depose Rishi Sunak in the row over his Rwanda policy. And I would encourage them to do it. Go on, I double dare you. I mean, who could it be? Place your bets. I mean, what would be the single funniest thing they could do? Get Smug to take over.
I don't know anything.
Or how about the return of the Bodge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
No, he's making too much money writing articles about how he was right about everything and how cruelly he's been treated. I know. There's only one vegetable in the salad drawer of the Conservative fridge that could do this job. Super Liz! Absolutely. As Tory splits dampened over the government's deportation plan, party chairman Richard Holden said it was time for MPs to start fighting the opposition rather than ourselves. And speaking on behalf of the nation, I would say no. And furthermore... No, continue fighting amongst yourselves. We're actually enjoying the show. Carry on. MPs are going to vote on Tuesday on the principle of whether to tighten the law in response to the Supreme Court's rejection of the Rwanda scheme last month, on the basis that it's not a safe country. That was the basis of the rejection, which the government previously insisted that it wasn't, by the way, not too long ago. The government of this country said that Rwanda was not a safe country. And then they said, please disregard everything that we've said about Rwanda. It is a safe country. And now we're magically making it such just by telling you it is. In other news, they've also mandated that rain is not wet and 6 times 8 is 43. And that Titchy's suit size is 6'4" in his stockinged feet. At a hastily arranged press conference in Downing Street, the Prime Minister vowed to finish the job and deliver on his pledge to stop the boats, which is the number one priority of him and him alone. And he only cares because he thinks it's the way to prevent getting chucked out on his massive ear by the mouth breathers on the benches behind him. Former Home Secretary Cruella Doberman said the new law won't work and we should all support being stripped of our rights and rely on the kindness of people like her because she has our best interests at heart. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Net migration hit a record 745,000 last year, by the way. And that's us controlling our borders. Less than 4% of those people arrived so supposedly illegally on small boats. He's ignoring the 96%, and he wants you to concentrate on the 4%. You know, in the national interest. And if you believe that, then I have a genuine, made-in-China Rolex watch I'd like to sell you. What my bid? Let's have Kensington, Hassan.
Well, hello.
Yes, sir.
Nick, I was very upset at the Rwanda policy because to me it sounded like they were picking on the most helpless of people amongst us. But now I've become a bit serene about this entire Rwanda shenanigans because I've realized that this could be a way of getting rid of the entire Tory lot very, very soon. Because if they continue to backstab each other at every occasion, eventually somebody will realize that they can just pull the plug on this rotten parliament and call for elections. So this could hasten the demise of this completely useless government that we have. But
except that it's in his gift to say when the election should be.
No, absolutely. But I think if he's about to be dragged out of Downing Street by hordes led by Suella Braverman, then he might as well just pull the plug.
Yeah, if he didn't care about the country, and I think I'm be fairly certain that he doesn't. But does he actually care about his party? Well, we're about to find out, I suppose.
No, absolutely. But I think your point about whether Starmer will vote against Rwanda is also valid because I think the Home Secretary the Shadow Home Secretary was asked 3 times by somebody at Sky whether she will cancel the Rwanda policy, and being such a staunch defender of human rights, she refused to answer all 3 times. And then Stephen Flynn, the SNP party leader in Parliament, had the best one-liner, which he said that the Prime Minister would be the first Tory Prime Minister to lose to a Thatcherite. So I think Starmer is going to keep on giving me nightmares and keep me guessing on whether he supports Rwanda or not.
Yeah. Yes. Well, he's going to have to. He's going to have to make some clear water visible between him and the Tories at some point. Fingers crossed it's at some point before the next election. Well, I guess we'll find out when we get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Hassan.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Ta-ra. 0345 6060 973. Jerry says, what a country we live in. Young people have no chance of acquiring their own home, and the elderly are being lined up for a mugging because they planned for their retirement too well and have too much money. And the Tory government seem concerned with a few thousand immigrants when they should be worried about millions of unhappy indigenous people. Yeah, that's a good point. It's not even a few thousand immigrants. It was like 40-odd thousand last year, and it's 20-odd thousand this year. It doesn't even, like hundreds, it would be more accurate. Yeah, I think you should, Titchy suit size, I think you should be more concerned about us people who are unhappy with the way it's going. Stop trying to distract us with this nonsense and actually try to improve our lives. I know that sounds like a revolutionary thought, but have you actually thought about giving that a go? Good grief. Ash texts, why can't we just let the boat people stay and send them to Wales in the... Why can't we just let the boat people stay and send them to Wales in the countryside and be their mates? Rwanda isn't safe, and it takes very little research to find that out, so I think we should help them, says Ash. That is always assuming that Wales is a safe country. Eric texts, 400,000 asylum claims could have been processed with the millions of pounds already wasted on the Rwandan stupidity. That's true. They could have fixed this problem already. Instead, they're spending all of their money, our money, and their political capital on trying to keep the problem going. They just want to keep it going because, we would have solved Brexit would have worked out for you, and we would have solved all of these problems if only it wasn't for the lefties and the Liberals and the Labour Party and the Wokerati and etc. and so on. There's always going to be somebody else's fault. And there's always going to be somebody that does something in order to create the dust cloud of distraction. Like the national anthem, for instance. Did you hear about that? Oh, I'll get to that in a minute. The boss of the Conservatives has been accused of giving up on the election after he admitted that he was talking to sister parties around the world on how to bounce back after a crushing loss. The Tory Chief Executive Officer, Stephen Massey, addressed all staff on a call on Friday, which sources said left the party workers feeling, we are bleeped. Very bad word, beginning with F.
Disgusting.
The millionaire banker, he's a millionaire banker, by the way. No! He told them that he had been seeking advice from the National Party in New Zealand on how to get back into power after losing badly. Well, how about pretend to be the Green Party by not putting the word Conservative on your pamphlets and eliminating the colour blue? Oh, that's right, you tried that already, didn't you? How did that go, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
A Tory source said the remarks had gone down like a lead balloon. Well, I don't know what they were expecting. They suggested even those at the top of the party had given up. People were watching it with their jaws on the floor. The vibe in Conservative campaign headquarters is, we are bleeped, they said. Isn't that terrible? Doesn't that make you feel very, very sad? I'll take that as a no.
Yes.
The call came as Titchy Suit Size struggles to make any progress in reducing Labour's poll lead, which has remained steady at around 20 percentage points. The PM's leadership is in turmoil after his close pal, Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, quit in a row over the Rwanda migrant deportation scheme, says the Mirror. And the thing is, he didn't quit because it was too mad, this Rwanda deportation scheme. Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick quit because the scheme wasn't mad enough.
What?
Yeah. Downing Street will spend the weekend twisting the arms of people before they vote on Tuesday on emergency legislation that they hope will finally get the flights off the ground. I can't really imagine Titchy Suit Size twisting any arms. Can you? I mean, he looks like he'd have trouble twisting the top of a bottle of Coke. And the government face a fight on two fronts as hardliners claim it's not tough enough, and those on the opposite side are concerned that it's too tough, that their party has actually lost its bleeping mind. And not only that, but Sunak could face a move to oust him. Rebels believe at least 18 MPs have already put in letters of no confidence. If 53 of them submit letters, then Sunak will face a vote of all Conservative MPs on whether he should remain as a party leader and Prime Minister. How's being Prime Minister working out for you, you perfumed princeling?
Oh, fabulous.
That's what I thought. Really badly. 0345 6060 973. Johnny says, did you hear the Tory peer call her party colleagues toxic mad fascists? Straight from the horse's mouth, says Johnny. And Bev says, one of the reasons the government doesn't want us to deal with the people coming in boats here is because if their asylum claim was heard here and they were successful, they would be given asylum in the UK. If we send them all to Rwanda, they would be given asylum there and not allowed back into the UK. However, I am with you that this is a distraction from what the government is really doing and from how useless they are at running the country. Yeah, what difference does it make? 100 people over there. Or 200. Or 1,000. 745,000 people, there or thereabouts, came here last year with a certificate issued by the government that says come along. And they're trying to get us to concentrate on the 100 or 200 at most that they'll be able to send to Rwanda, as though that will solve any problem. It's just amazing how this country is being run at the moment. I mean, it's like the it's sort of like you know when you go into a shop or a supermarket and it's like Sunday night and things are a bit awry. It's because they got the Sunday night crew in. You know, the people that aren't quite good enough to run the supermarket during the week. That's kind of how it is, isn't it? We've got a bunch of work experience people who are running this country at the moment. No wonder we're in a blooming state.
LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
I am not one of your fans!
This text says, it's a text from Neil, says, when you say the Tories will decide to do whatever Trump would do, you're actually doing Trump a disservice. Instead, the Tories will try and do what Trump would do, but the sad fact is that our government is so castrated they can't even see a policy through. What's that got to do with being castrated? Impotent, I think you probably meant. They can't see a policy through, let alone implement it. How have we got to the position where even Trump was more effective than our leaders? Oh, that's right, Trump was actually elected. Well, these people were elected. I mean, we didn't elect Titchy Suit Size and we didn't elect Liz Truss.
Absolutely.
But we did elect Bodger Johnson.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And from him, all of the rest of this catastrophe has emanated. And as for Trump being effective, doing what exactly? I don't think he was effective at doing anything at all. He took credit for the things that went well, that just happened to go well while he was in power. But as for improving the lives of the average American, I couldn't see it. I mean, people say that he didn't start a war. Yeah, he did. He started a civil war, and it's still raging. And, never mind about being elected, he didn't get as many votes as Hillary Clinton. And the crowd that came up for his inauguration was minimal. Biggest crowd ever. Everybody says that, believe me. Herpreet texts, get your tree late on Christmas Eve and they'll be giving them away. Well, that's true. And they'll probably deliver. Artificial trees are awful, says Herpreet. Well, the awful ones are, but the good ones are better than a real one, in my opinion. I've always thought I would never, ever, ever get an artificial tree. And then I was left one by the previous owner of the house that I bought. And I would not go back. Because an artificial tree can hold up a heavy bauble and never sag. And it doesn't spill needles all over the floor. And you don't have to squeeze it into the car to take it to the dump after you've finished with it, with the consequence that you're still finding needles in the boot of your car in August. No, I would never go back. 0345 6060 973. Let's see now. The Wirral, Nora.
Hiya, Nick.
Nora.
Hiya. So, I've forgotten what I was going to... there's three things that I want to address.
Three?
The first thing I rang up for. Yeah, one or three things. But the first thing was, I had a very traumatic flight tonight. And I really thought I was going to die because the plane was just everywhere. But... Are
you saying flight?
Yes.
Where were you? A flight in a plane?
In an aeroplane.
Right, okay.
That's not the point of the story.
But where were you coming from?
The point of the story, I was coming from Manchester to where I am now.
You flew from Manchester to Liverpool?
No, I'm not in Liverpool. I'm in the Channel Islands.
Oh, right.
Anyway, but the point was, because I'd saved up from the last night, because I knew it was going to be boring on the flight, so I saved up your show from last night on downloaded it.
Oh, yeah.
So the last thing I might have heard, I really thought that I was going to die with your voice in my
Well, it was very windy, wasn't it? Was that the problem?
Yeah.
Very, very stormy out.
Yeah.
Not a good time to take a flight. That's right.
Warning.
Yeah.
Oh, it went up like a kite. Oh, gee. And I'm not a bad flyer. So I have to say that I've made a little bit of a dent in the bottle of whiskey that I bought on the flight.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about turbulence in flight because planes are designed to cope with turbulence. It's just air, Nora. You should not be concerned about turbulence. The thing to be concerned about is smashing into the ground in an uncontrolled manner. That's what you need to concern yourself with.
But turbulence is hot air, isn't it? It's hot jets of air.
Is it?
Is
that right?
Just the gusts of wind.
Yeah.
And it's only a light aircraft to the Channel Islands because there's not many people.
Well, you want to be very, very concerned about the hot air.
Hot air.
Yeah, HOTAIR.
AIR. Yeah. Anyway, that was one thing, but that's what I rang out originally.
Right.
And then,
just before we go any further, Nora, are you speaking directly into the phone?
I am. Is it not clear?
It's very unclear. Yeah, it's like you've got.
Sorry.
It's like you're calling in a ransom demand.
Oh, okay.
You got a
do you
sock.
leave it then?
You got a sock over the phone. Well, what is
No,
it? What is
please.
what is it that you wanted to say?
Well, only I think that Robert Jenrick's your next candidate for the Tory leader.
Right.
Honest Bob. And then the other thing was, but you kind of stole my plunder on this one because, Carol Vorderman did these sums and said that, if we didn't have all the money going to Rwanda, we'd have this many more doctors and things.
Yeah.
She hasn't even added in what it cost for Bibi Stockholm.
No.
So
billions.
Where's that gone?
Couple of billion.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it? What's happened to it? Are we still paying for it?
Yeah, I think we're on the hook. I think we're on the hook for 2 years.
And they've quietly brushed it under the carpet like we're just sitting on this great big white elephant.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, so I just thought that was my other point. But
All right.
I'm sorry I'm so muted. Not why me.
All right. Okay, good work. Thanks a lot, Nora. Happy landings. Elsa says, for 20 years I have rented our Christmas trees in big pots. This is because of the environment. They brought and collected it. Splendid, great show, says Elsa. Well, one year I bought a Christmas tree, a small one, about 4 foot, something like that. And after I'd finished with it, I just stuck it in the ground in the front, expecting it to die a horrible death. But it didn't. It went berserk. It became an absolute giant. I don't own that house anymore, but I'd be quite surprised if it hadn't continued to grow robustly. So that is something to think about. You don't have to rent it. If you really, really want to have a Christmas tree that lasts and lasts, you could just keep it in a pot, put it outside after the winter, and then bring it in next December. Why not? That is assuming that you've got an outside. Chris texts, what is this digital security bill that you were talking about? I think you said about bank balances for people on benefits. Sorry to ask this, but it's the first I've heard of this, says Chris. Do you get the news where you are, Chris? Time to be alarmed.
Warning, warning.
They're going to be peeking into your bank balance. Now, this is assuming that you get some sort of benefit from the government, including pensions. But I would seriously doubt whether they would stop at that. I mean, if they have the ability to look into the bank accounts and to the personal private business of anybody that they give benefits to, then they ain't going to stop there, are they? I mean, if that is the kind of regime that we're talking about, they're not going to let a little impediment like that to stand in their way. If they dislike you, or you have stepped over the line in some way, or you have criticised the dear leader, then you're probably on a list and they will be examining you with both hands. Count on it. Jessica texts, according to the Daily Fail website, Tory plotters are considering a dream team of Bodger and Farrago. It'll be better than Laurel and Hardy. We must prepare to export incontinence pants because the rest of the world is going to wet itself laughing. Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. And I'm not sure that the Daily Fail website actually said that they were considering a dream team of Bodger and Farrago. They said that they were, Farage and Bodge were in the wings waiting to see what was going to happen. We can't possibly... No, it can't possibly happen. That can't possibly happen. But then so many things that you could not have imagined happen have happened.
That is a disgrace.
It is a disgrace. Exclusive. Where's this from?
Daily Fail.
The Daily Fail. Boris could return as Prime Minister in astonishing plan being hatched by disgruntled Conservative MPs, and dream ticket leadership tie-up with Nigel Farage is even being considered. Yeah, put them in the same boat. And then yank the plug out. These people have lost their minds. I mean, they really have. I mean, talk about desperate. This is pathetic. Are they considering this in the interests of the public? Are they doing it for the benefit of the nation? Just making certain that they keep their place on the gravy train, perhaps. What an absolute shower. I really am I'm beyond words now. I'm going to have to take a break.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Bodger and Nigel Farage, you've got to be kidding me. And so while they desperately rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, trying to figure out some way of keeping themselves dry, this came and went. And I can't believe that this isn't on the front page of every blooming newspaper in the land. This happened this week. Child income poverty rates in the United Kingdom were the highest among the world's richest countries. A report by the United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, said, child income poverty rates in this country, the highest in the world. The UNICEF report, published on Wednesday, looked at relatively well-off countries to assess the rate of child income poverty compared with child poverty reduction rates. In other words, how many kids are in poverty and how well we are doing as a country trying to get those kids out of poverty. Britain, and this is not in the world, to be fair, this is in the first world. Britain ranked, out of 39 nations, 37th. 37th out of the 39 nations in the European Union and the OECD. These are countries in the first world, major economies, based on income poverty rate for children and their success in reducing child poverty in a time of prosperity. When the sun was shining, did we fix the roof? Only Turkey and Colombia rank below this country. But it's worse than that, because when measuring percentage changes in child income poverty rates between 2012 and 2021, the entire time that the Tories have been in power, The United Kingdom is bottom of the table of 39 high and middle-income countries. Last in improving the lives of children in poverty in this country, we fare the worst in the first world. Of 39 countries, we are bottom. And the people that are responsible for this want more time in order to keep doing this to us. How is that not on the front page of every single blooming newspaper in the land? Child poverty in this country. And they're banging on about boats and unisex bathrooms. And if a university is playing the national blooming anthem. And we're going along with it. Bristol University has axed the national anthem from its graduation ceremonies, with some students claiming it is old-fashioned and offensive to some, which caused the usual suspects to have a fit that you could see through walls. And this is just the sort of thing those with the History Channel permanently on their televisions will amplify beyond all sense, because it takes the mind off the fact that absolutely nothing works in this country anymore. They're doing the wokey-cokey.
Okie-dokie.
The anthem has not been played since last year's ceremony at the University of Bristol, with the uni saying that it regularly updates its graduation ceremonies. God Save the King will now only be played when a member of the royal family is present, which, as this is Bristol University, will be never. Some students at the 147-year-old university have suggested that the national anthem was culled because it is irrelevant, old-fashioned, or may even be offensive to some. And it comes weeks after the university vowed to remove slave trader Edward Colston's emblem from its logo after his statue was toppled during a Black Lives Matter protest in the city in June 2020, which is another one of those things that occupies a bizarre amount of time in the minds of a few who seek to distract. The ones that call telling the truth about the past rewriting history. You know, those people. Layla Danes, 21, told the Sun newspaper, "The monarchy isn't really relevant to my generation, so it wouldn't be missed." Yeah, that's right. Spoiler alert, the young aren't interested in the royal family. They're smarter, they're less deferential to those institutions that don't do anything for them, other than to give the enemies of the young ammunition to throw at them for not being as interested in the things that occupied older generations. They don't care for the royals, they don't eat spam, and they don't think that Morecambe and Wise were funny. Free Speech Union Director Toby Young said, "Why are Britain's most prestigious universities openly contemptuous of the country's history and heritage? It's particularly mysterious given how financially dependent they are on taxpayers' money." He said, if Bristol University really hates Britain so passionately, the government should invite it to take its begging bowl elsewhere. That's the director of a group calling itself the Free Speech Union, criticising students for speaking freely. Are you following this?
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
Yeah, I think so. But it's worse than that, because actual ministers with not much on their plates found the time to weigh in on this too. Oliver Bloomin' Dowden, the Deputy Prime Minister, tweeted, "If Bristol University are too ashamed of their British heritage, presumably they no longer want to be subsidised by the British taxpayer." Gillian Keegan, the Education Secretary, said, "This is ridiculous. Universities should stand up for our British values and stop giving in to woke ideology." Do you remember the part when I was talking about the child poverty? OK, a couple or three things. First off, since when was the national anthem played at graduation ceremonies at universities? I don't remember it. Do you? Second, your patriotism is not measured by how much you make a scene about loving the national anthem. And third, the national anthem is a turgid dirge of a tune overlaid with lyrics about us poor dopes who pay taxes, giving over all of our best stuff to the richest and most fated family that has ever lived. Thy choicest gifts in store on him be pleased to pour, it says. No. He's got enough choice stuff as it is. He's up to his massive ears in gifts. And possibly the other reason why the right-wing culture warriors are upset with Bristol University is because late in November, the university announced it would distance itself from the slave trader Edward Colston, following a public consultation centred on whether 7 buildings named after families, including Wills and Fry's, with links to slavery, should be renamed. Yeah, rename them. Rename them to someone who didn't sell people as cattle. Is that so controversial?
Yes.
Yeah, apparently it is. Because it involves recounting a history that doesn't paint the country in glowing colours and doesn't assume that everything that Britain has ever done is practically perfect in every way. You know, like Mary Poppins. The university spokesman said the 4,000 students, the staff and the members and the local communities who responded to the survey felt it was crucial to acknowledge and explain the past and the historical significance of such figures. You know, but that's them using their own freedom of speech. And as any fool know, the free speech crew are only interested in hearing their own free speech. And everyone else should leave the country if they don't agree with them. Which is exactly what the commentators on the Mail Online thought about these students at Bristol University. Which just goes to show how easily people are led, and how simple it is to distract simpletons from the important stuff by getting them to feel angry or superior about other unimportant stuff. I mean, here are the top-rated comments when I read this story online. Anyone who takes offence to our national anthem is living in the wrong country. And, fed up hearing about this woke university, time to stop funding it. Yeah, good idea. And let's get in some book burning while we're at it. Let our thoughts remain pure so we don't get infected with any of those ideas. Anybody alarmed about any of this yet? You should be. Wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. 0345 6060 973. Marilyn texts, you haven't told Jan that she can stop holding her breath yet. That's a good point, yeah. You can breathe out now, Jan. Camden, hello, Claire. Oh, Claire.
Hi, Nick.
Claire.
Hi. I'd like to ask you, did you see Fish's latest stunt? He went to jewelry maker's atelier and tried his hand at doing something there.
Oh, yeah. Hammering.
Using this special small hammer.
He used a special small hammer in order to make him appear normal-sized to the average viewer. Yes.
And he started doing things using the long side of the hammer.
Yeah, but in his defence, and I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but in his defence, he was told to use the side of the hammer. Yes.
How do you know this?
Because if you see the whole of the video, the person that he is mystifyingly who is allowing themselves to be photographed next to him is telling him that for the purpose of this exercise, you use the side of the hammer. Yeah.
I didn't see a video. I saw just a photo, a picture.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, you didn't see the whole thing. And I think that's called fake news, Claire. False information. You must always get the big picture.
But this is what was sent to my phone. They send different articles, news.
You must always check for yourself. You know, whenever you see anything on Twitter that says this or that is true, just take a couple of seconds out of your life to see whether it is or not.
Because looking at this photo, it looks like he has no common sense.
Well, that part is true, yes. I mean, the man is still a chump, but he was actually using the hammer in the way in which he was instructed to do it.
But can such a specimen be at the head of a state?
Well, he can be. Whether he should be or not is a completely different issue.
And also, I have a plea.
Yes. What's your plea?
When you said a few minutes ago in your show, you said Cruella Doberman. Doberman dogs can be very nice, so please don't misuse their name.
Right. I apologise to all Doberman dogs.
I am very sorry that I screwed up. Totally I am so sorry. You just don't know how sorry I am. I'm sorry.
I'm very apologetic about that whole Doberman issue. Well pointed out there, Claire. Excellent work. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. You hold it like this, Titchy.
I'm gripping it.
He is actually gripping it right now. A little too firmly. It's in the wrist.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
We are indeed running late. Where has the time gone? 0345 6060 973. Belgium, Emma.
Yeah, so one thing I think we sort of miss in this conversation, so is how much it's horrendous as we think, and we look on the Rwanda policy, for example. Well, the EU are looking at us and going, "Oh, you're like the chosen child," and they're going to see how we get on with our policy because they want to do the same thing. And I think that it's quite scary, but that is how it is. They're looking at us. They want to replicate what we're doing.
No, nobody wants to replicate what we're doing. They might want to do it better or more efficiently, but no one wants to replicate what we are doing. No one.
They do though.
No, Emma, you're not listening to what I'm saying. They may want to do it more efficiently and with less expense to the general public's purse, but no one wants to copy what we are doing now.
Really? I think they do.
You're not listening to a word I'm saying, are you, Emma? You just aren't. I've said it twice now, and I can't say it again. I just can't. Nobody wants to replicate what we are doing right now. Why would they? I mean, learn from our mistakes, yes, but that's different. Bodmin. Hello, Malcolm.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
A couple of few things. Conservative and Unionist Party and the European Research Group.
Yeah.
Two outstanding bodies, I think. One of them put a border down the Irish Sea, thus making one of its unions a little bit difficult.
Yes.
And the other one is making waves now, but also was such a smart group of people that they did the sums and the calculations, and they worked out that Brexit would be good for the country. This is the European Research Group. Now, yes. I used to be a bit of an educator myself, Nick. Small-scale stuff, school teacher.
Just before we go on, I'm not sure that that's what they determined by dint of their calculations. I don't think they did believe that it would be good for the country. I believe that they thought it would be good for them personally.
Yes. So you've detected the flaw in there and my argument. But the point I'm actually making, Nick, is this. If you extrapolate that forward, so they're now saying, this European Research Group, that they've got the Star Chamber together again, the team that does all this wonderful
Star
research.
Chamber.
The Star Chamber is
like something out of Superman.
And I think they may have come up with something which is actually correct, and that is that the Rwanda scheme, this little scheme, is absolutely riddled with holes.
Yeah.
And it is in no way going to hold any water whatsoever. Nick.
But
So
I don't
there you
believe
go.
that they want this problem solved, that the government is actually interested in solving this problem. They want it to be a continuous running sword to pick at, to say that, we would have been able to solve this problem if it wasn't for lefty lawyers and enemy of the people judges and the wokerati and, and on and on and on.
But these are the people, Nick, this ERG, the European Research Group and the Star Chamber, these are the people with the power over our Prime Minister staying in his job.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that that's true. I mean, here's what the ERG are like. They have determined that the best person to lead them is Marc Francois.
No, look, Nick.
I mean, come on.
No, Nick, you listen to this, right? If the ERG say that this scheme does not hold any water, and therefore we are voting against it, that means that their X number, they're vastly reduced from where they were. They were something like about 80 people. They're down now to 20 or 30. But then you've got several other little groups of Tories in the party who are equally dangerous to Sunak. So the point I'm making is, Nick, that all of these little bits of rot in the Tory party, they add up to something which is going to bring Sunak down. Because if they have 54 letters, Nick, it's a few less now because they've lost a few by-elections. If they get the 50-odd letters saying no confidence in Sunak, and there is a vote called, he will go, Nick, because they are not going to look, the rest of the party, they are not going to look a gift horse in the mouth.
Right.
In other words, an opportunity to get rid of Sunak. They're going to get rid of him, Nick.
Yeah.
No question.
Well, I'm sure that you're completely right about that. What is slightly amusing and definitely ironic is that his obsession with small boats is the thing that's going to sink his boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, what when you think about it, Nick, as a nation, this party who you said millions of times, the Labour Party has been in power for something like about 25 years out of the last 100 and odd.
Something like that,
in the Labour Party's entire history, 20 to 30 years in power. The rest of the time it's been at the Tories.
Yes.
How can they go from that, Nick, to where they are now? It's just unbelievable. I mean, how can any... My mate is listening in tonight. He's up in Cambridge. He's working away from home, bless him. And he voted Brexit. And we were having a yarn earlier, and he challenged me to put it to you. How do you fancy Nigel Farage and Liz Truss? How about Liz Truss coming back?
I would welcome it with open arms, because their time in number 10 will be limited at best.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll barely be able to have enough time to get their knees underneath the table.
But is there actually a person, Nick, in the country who doesn't know that Richie Sunak and his Conservative Party, Unionist Party, and the ERG, is there anybody in the country who does not know that they are going to lose the election? Is there anyone?
Well, stranger things have happened.
Absolutely.
And it is possible that they could not, that they might not lose the election, but I would assume that the person who most fervently hopes that will not happen is the man who is in number 10 now, although by the tetchy look on his face for most of the time, I would imagine that reality has slapped him in the mush. Malcolm, gotta go. Thanks for that. Nigel texts, Nick, because Bodger doesn't know how a phone works, he wore the GTFC bobble hat to the COVID inquiry as a memory mnemonic for got to frame Cummings. Right. Let's see if I can squeeze this one in. Mansfield, hello, Ashley.
Hello.
Ashley. Okay, great call. That was my favourite call of the evening so far. Excellent work, Ashley. Please call again as soon as you have another thought. Callie texts, I went to Bristol University in the early 2000s. I don't remember there ever being a national anthem at graduation. I think this entire story is fiction. Well, it could be. Becky says, by limiting people with families coming here, all they will do is guarantee that the people working here will send money back home and not spend it here. Well, that's a good point. Correct. I mean, apart from the dismal truth of if we want people to come here and do jobs that we don't want to do, and then we would refuse to allow them to bring their family with them, the person that they love in the whole wide world more than anybody else, we say, no, you can come and wipe our bottoms for us, but you can't bring your girlfriend or your wife or your husband. How many people do you think are going to be queuing up for that? Adrian says, have you noticed how immigration only ever becomes a really big issue when the economy is falling apart? Yeah, that's true. And finally, Jeff says, geez, it's scary just knowing that there's people out there like you, as in me. And even more so that someone has actually given you a platform to spout your truly ridiculous liberal and nonsensical rhetoric. Thanks to people like you, this country is a far worse place now. Oh, I see. It's my fault. 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 It's my